Thank you so much for joining us. In honor of Women's History Month and International Women's Day, Acker is thrilled to present our Women in Wine series, available to stream on our Instagram and YouTube channels, so please subscribe to experience all of our incredible content. We have an exciting roster lined up of some wonderful women who are invigorating the wine industry. My name is Lily Mirabel Friedman, and I'm honored to be joined today by the proprietor of Elio Altare and Barolo, Silvia Altare. Thank you so much for joining us today, Silvia. Where are you joining us from?
Thank you. You're calling me and I'm sitting in my tasting room. I'm in La Morra, one of the villages of Barolo, and I'm super excited of doing this. At least I get some social life, even if through a video. So thank you. Very excited.
So the 2020 vintage is now in the cellar, and how is 2020 and how's 2021 looking in Piedmont?
2020, we close the books, as we say in Italiano. I'm very happy with it. No complaints really. You know, we're always like nervous and anxious, like an athlete ready to start a marathon. But you know, when you get to the end, you're like, good job. So there was no major challenges really. So I'm happy with quality and quantity. 2021, as you can see from the light coming through my windows, is spring has sprung. It's beautiful. We're happy. We're done with I'm not sure you say that in English, but curving, like bending the shoots. So we're actually kind of ahead of schedule. So I'm gonna have to find some work to do for my workers, painting the cellar, I don't know, scrubbing all the tiles, I don't know, something. But we're good.
Fantastic. So we'll start from the beginning of your life a little bit. And what was it like growing up as a daughter of a winemaker, especially since historically so much of wine's tradition is passed down from father to son?
Yeah, I like that in English you say father to son, not father to daughter. but I always like to say that my parents, or my dad, that's his name on the label, Elio Altare, more than a winemaker, was and still is a farmer. So I grew up on a farm, and maybe might sound exciting or not exciting, but I was put at work since I was a kid. So what I was doing when I was a kid, today you could go to jail for. It could be considered slavery. So starting from bringing water to my parents when they were in the vineyards, and maybe I could barely walk. You know, you bring a bottle in the vineyards of cold water, helping bottling. I thought it was exciting putting, let's say, empty bottles on the bottling line, but they used me. So I remember always helping, and it was fun. It was loud. There were a lot of things happening. We played. I thought it was like playing. We were outside all the time. I liked it, but it's part of my life. So I never took it so seriously as a job till it became my job. Yeah.
Did you dream of doing something else growing up? Did you have a dream job growing up outside of the wine business?
Well, my parents were very smart and brave. We're two sisters, to never push us to be in the business. They always said, if you do this, it has to be with your heart, because to be a farmer and a winemaker is not just, you know, knowing chemistry and doing, you know, formulas. You have to have the passion, and you have to work hard. You work Sundays, you work under the rain and the sunshine. So it's tough. So they always said, find your path. And I always thought I was going to be a cook because I love cooking, and I still cook a lot. I like to eat and drink. So I just, you know, I thought I'd travel the world and gain some experience here and there, and then maybe I'll be a chef. And then it was not maybe I'll be a chef. I'll just be a cook in the house. And then I started working at the winery full time in 2003. Now almost 20 years.
So pretty early you decided it would be food or wine, and in some way, shape, or form, but I know that you had some formidable experiences with other winemakers, working as an au pair for Manfred Krankl in California. And how did that perhaps influence your desire to be a winemaker at all, or perhaps your desire to travel and see more of the world, maybe through wine?
Definitely, that's an experience that I thank the Krankls to having given me the opportunity to do, and my parents for being smart, or I should say crazy, to put me on a plane when I was 14 years old. I think today would be illegal, by the way. You don't put a child 14 years old on a plane. I spoke zero English. They put me in a plane and say, goodbye, see you in 3 months. And I got to Ojai, that's where the Krankls live. And I think I could say yes, no, good morning. But, I managed, I survived, and I think I was crying maybe the first couple nights. And then I learned English, obviously. But yeah, traveling has been a big part of my learning experience. And people like the Krankls have had a huge impact on my life. But I think I'm going to use the Krankls topics on the next question because they're definitely important people in my life still today. Yeah.
Definitely. So you had all these kind of experiences in wine with your family being in wine. What made you initially want to go into the wine business other than kind of seeing your family in it? Was there any singular experience?
No, I always grew up with my parents, again, mostly my dad, saying that we are not just doing something, or we just don't just have a job. We're artisans. We create something that gives pleasure to people. It's not that we're sitting in an office or just we're creating something that can travel the world, and people can think of us or pretend being on our terrace or enjoy our wine and think of our region. So always the idea of giving pleasure to other people through a bottle of wine, it was always something that I thought it was very fascinating, that I could not see in other jobs, I guess. But the idea of calling each other ourselves as artisans, I don't know if that's the good translation, artigiani in Italiano, artisans, because we do create something. We follow it from January to December, from pruning to sales. We have hands on everything. If you made a good job, people is happy. If you didn't make a good job, not so much. So it's very challenging, but it's the biggest satisfaction to give pleasure to someone. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I know from visiting you, you have grown up tasting a lot of wine from all over the world, not just from Piedmont, not just from Barolo, but wines from all over. Is there a pivotal wine that you tasted that made you fall in love with the wine business?
Yeah, I think my family has a drinking problem. So we've been always drinking since I was a kid. My dad belongs to that generation in Barolo that started exploring, being adventurous, and started traveling and started drinking wine. So definitely, I was very lucky to grow up in a family where it wasn't just like drink your own wine or the neighbor's wine. No, my dad would pull, wines from Australia, from California, from France. Mostly, I have to say, old world. So drinking Burgundy was always enlightening, also because my dad always spoke so highly about Burgundy when I was a kid. It was the inspiration that the sparkle that made him do what he did. But to me, obviously, if I have to mention one specific wine, I remember 89 Barolo Vigna Colonnello from Aldo Conterno. And Aldo Conterno was a friend of my dad. He passed away. Now his kids have taken over. But that's a wine. I like to keep all the empty bottles of the special wines we drink. And I have too many, I think. My mom always jokes and says, where are you going to put all these bottles? But among all the ones I kept, that Magnum of 89 Barolo, it was spot on. I remember it.
It's a wine that my dad and I actually spoke about a few days ago, and we were weighing when we should open it, if he should open it without me. And it was an odd that you bring it up, because now I really want to taste it with him soon.
Yeah. Buono, buonissimo, as we say in Italiano. Buono.
So what have been your challenges in building your career?
I'm going to be boring and say that working on a farm is not easy, but that's because it's very physical. And today I can say I'm very lucky. Maybe when I was doing it 15, 20 years ago, I was saying, what I have to do, why I have to do this. I got to work in the vineyards. I got to drive the tractors. I worked in the cellar. So it's very physical and intense. So it's, you go to bed, you don't have to take sleeping pills, you sleep. The other thing is that when I joined the company, my dad's staff was, older people. I think the youngest one was in his 70s. And, I was always considered the girl, the daughter of, and, they would tease me. So it was, and in Italy, it's all about macho and being cool. Now, fast forward to today, we're a small company. I have 6 employees. They're all guys, and they're all more or less all my age. and I'm their boss, and they listen to me. So that's a good achievement, but it was very challenging to get to that point. Yeah.
You are a tough lady. I can imagine seeing you a little bit in the winery and how you get around in Italy it's really impressive to see. So I appreciate you saying that, but I also know that people definitely respect you today, at least. So
but I want to say to add one more thing. It wasn't just to gain the respect of the workers, but also of my dad, because he belongs to that generation that, Jays, it was all, it's like being a woman was like a disease. You have to stay home and make babies and cook. So it was kind of tough to, I had to prove him, I had to prove myself for my, own, how to say, own sanity, that I could make it. And I made it.
Sure did. I know you work very closely with your father, and you still do today, but was there ever a mentor figure for you outside of your family?
And then I'm gonna use again the Krankls, because the bravery of Manfred and Elaine of starting something out of the blue and creating, I'm gonna call it a little empire. They were so smart to do this in a very challenging time, or maybe in a time that nobody was really thinking of doing that. So Manfred and Elaine are very smart, and great people, very humble, and I really love them. I call Elaine my mamacita because he was my second mama. He's still my second mama. So definitely the Krankls. And then the other, I'm going to mention another family because I have families all over the world. My second family is the Becky Wasserman, Becky and Russell from Burgundy. I worked with them back in 2001. I did a stage, an internship with them, but also we're family friends. And when I was looking, the life they lived within all these great winemakers, supporting the winemakers, drinking these great wines, I always thought, I want to be like you. So I have some important people I look at. To mention one in the region, which happens to be a lady that you're going to interview, my superhero is Chiara Boschis. And you're going to interview her. You're going to love her. And I always joke, and I tell everyone that I'm 100% sure she flies too. She can fly. She's got like super powerful eyes or something, because she's so cool. She's got superpowers.
She is a force to be reckoned with, I think, is the best way to perhaps describe Chiara. She has a certain bit of magic to her that is very unique in any industry. So I'm thrilled that you mentioned her as well. So do you have a favorite trait about yourself?
Oh, personal or business? I can do personal and business-wise. Business-wise, I think I'm very realistic. And since I've worked at the winery, from the vineyard to the cellar to the office, I know how long it takes to get things accomplished, how long it takes to do things. So I'm very realistic, I guess it's in English. So I know that if someone says, oh, it took me 2 hours to do that, I'm like, really? I don't think so. So realistico. Personally, I think I'm fun. I think I enjoy life, eating, drinking, hanging out with my friends. So, and I have a good sense of humor, I want to say.
You sure do. I appreciate that greatly. And also, you're a pleasure to have a snack with, sit in the tasting room. And I think that's something that some people are very serious when it comes to coming for a visit. It's about the wine, you're tasting the wine. Thank you very much for coming. And now you leave. Whereas you go visit Silvia Altare and it's let me show you this, let me show you that. Oh, you like this, let's do the next thing. And I think that's a real treat, something different. And very much a taste of the old, like the very old world, the traditional world versus kind of how people are today, often at wineries, and a real pleasure. So I know you've come into your family's winery at your own accord, and that in itself was its own kind of risk, but do you generally consider yourself a risk taker?
Yes, you do. Challenges are out there every day. You have to adapt so much in the vineyards, in the cellar, seasons, weather, marketing, sales. But I want to say one of the biggest risks, I've taken actually two big ones that might first one, my dad was like, oh, no, you're too young. But then he listened to me and it was a good choice. And this goes back to 2006. We had a distributor in Italy that was in charge of selling all our wines. And the guy wasn't doing so well. We decided to leave them after like 25 years together. And it was a lot of work for me, to go direct to customers, but it worked. And then the biggest jump, you say, I've taken, that my dad was really not so happy, but in the end it turned out to be good. We left our world distributor. We were distributing one company that had the monopoly for the whole world, and now we left them. We go directly to customers. But I'm sure that's one of the moments where my dad said, Silvia, maybe you were right. He didn't say I was right. He said, maybe. There's always a maybe there, but yes.
How did you kind of reckon that with your father and with your family, and how did you kind of prove yourself afterwards?
Well, you just have to work and prove them that I didn't have to prove them that they were wrong. I just had to prove them that it worked, the decision. And that's, I think, people that like to take challenges or risks are the people that then are willing to work anyway, right? So I was willing to prove myself. So I worked 3 times harder, but I managed and it worked. But I guess challenges are out there every day. So when people say, this is a question I get asked a lot. Let's say maybe my family achieved, how would I say, a level of, quality, or we're established brand. So what are you doing today? I mean, there's always something you can do. There's always challenges out there. So I'm not sitting on the couch and saying, oh, Silvia, you're so good. No, I don't. So I like to experiment, and I taste a lot of wines out there. I'm very curious. I read a lot, and I'm lucky to speak English. I speak French. I speak German, so I can read in different languages, and that really helps to get ideas out there.
So I think that's kind of your curiosity is a perfect place to kind of take us to the next question of how, especially in a year like this, have you stayed motivated?
Well, I stay motivated because we can't stop, really. I mean, it's not that I put all my workers at home because it's Corona, for us, work didn't stop one day. And we're very lucky to have customers that drink our wines even during this rough time. The positive thing is that we're not so big, we're tiny, so I don't have to sell hundreds of thousands and millions of bottles. So I'm not going to say it's easy, but for sure at this time of our life, it's easier. So I stay motivated because we have to work anyway. And I've been drinking a lot at home. I've been buying a lot online, and I've improved my buying online skills. And I've been buying a lot of wine. I've been experimenting new stuff as well, new wines that I never had before. So this lockdown year, because it's been a year now, it was also a good learning experience.
So you've turned it into an educational year to kind of keep yourself going. And
educational. A lot of things come with that. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. What is it? Is there anything you can point to specifically that you love about the wine industry?
For sure, the fact that, again, that we're making something that people will enjoy, and so we're creating some sort of magic that it's going to go out there and make someone happy. But the idea that a bottle is usually something that you will share. So you share pleasure, you share with your family, with your girlfriend, with your friends, whatever. I mean, I'm sure you can drink a bottle by yourself, but usually wine is something that puts people together. It's still sad, right, by yourself, but I've learned that too. I've been drinking sometimes alone too, but I don't know if that's a good thing. But the idea of giving pleasure, it's really a driving force for me.
Incredible. So are there any moments that stand out when you look back on your success story?
Well, you're already saying I've had a success story. I'm not sure.
As it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, Silvia's still so young. Like,
yeah, when people say you're the young generation, bro, I'm like, really? No, there's people 20 years younger than me. But Can you ask me the question again? I'm sorry, I got lost.
No problem. Are there any specific moments that stand out when you look at your success story?
Well, being able to achieve, I'm going to say this not too loud. My dad is not around, but achieve results that maybe my dad wasn't able to achieve. So, and sometimes, oh my God, this is a little strange to say, but not that I'm embarrassed, but I don't even share too much with my parents because I don't want to tell my dad too much, because my dad is like, in 1989, and I'm thinking, yeah, now we're in 2021, Elio. Things. So no, it's cool. I definitely, my generation is more, on social media. I mean, online interviews like we're doing now. So little things like that make me proud of what I do and proud of my work.
Would you say that there's a single moment that defined your career at any point?
Single moment. I mean, getting good scores from no, I do have a story. But I don't know if that's a little bit too much, but I was in a plane on a flight, it was a Lufthansa flight, Milano to New York. And this goes back 5 years ago. I'm not sure when the movie Somme was released, Someone. And Somme was one of the movies you could see on the plane, right? And the guy next to me started watching it, and I'm in Someone, and I was like thinking, oh my God, he's watching the movie. But the guy obviously didn't know what it was, didn't recognize me. So Milano, New York is like 8 hours. The guy's watching a bunch of movies, and then you start chitty chatting, and then he looks at me and says, "Oh my God, I've just seen you in the movie!" And then that was the highlight of my life. I was like, I'm recognized on a plane, and he almost looked at me like, "What are you doing in economy here?" I'm like, "No, usually I fly first class, but today I decided to be in economy."
Yeah, once they put me on the in-flight movie, I was like, I can sit with the regular people now, and it's a whole different scene. I just want to be recognized.
But that was just a funny moment. And for example, I don't even think my parents know that movie was released, so it's okay.
It's okay. Well, is there a piece of advice? I know as you said, you're somewhere in between the old generation and the new generation, but is there a piece of advice you'd like to give to the incoming generation or a younger generation of female leaders in the wine industry?
Always be curious, and I can speak for Barolo. You want to stay humble. Stay humble. I don't believe in you don't want to be like, I'm cool, I do this, I do that. I mean, stay humble and learn the work from the beginning, because if you don't know where the grapes come from, you'll never know how to make good wines. I mean, you can't make good wines from a lab, I think. I'm sorry, my opinion. So I would say get experience, work in the fields. I had to work 5 years in the vineyards before I was upgraded to the cellar. I thought it was terrible, but now I know how it works, and I can tell my workers how to do it, and I don't have to do it anymore. It's good, you see? But you see, stay humble, curious, and work. Just work hard, because it's cool to tell a story, but you have to work hard and support the story with some hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's perfect advice, no matter what generation you're from. So an evergreen piece of advice, I'd say. So you, as you mentioned, are tasting all kinds of new wine during the past year and throughout all of your career. Is there another woman who you'd like to shout out who's making exciting wines right now that people should know about?
You know what? I'm gonna reverse your question, and I can mention one, but I have very strong empathy,
Yeah.
feeling for women that have to fill big shoes. Because I've had that, and everyone compares you to your mom or to your dad. So to me, I mean, I could name you a couple, whatever, but to me, the girls, at least from my region, that come from families that have fathers with these huge personalities, girls, I feel you. I'm with you. So I'm with these girls where the press, the bloggers, the writers are all on them, all on us, and can't wait for us to make a mistake or can't wait for us to change something. And so to me, the biggest challenge is to, keep up with all the pressure everyone has on me and many of my girlfriends. I'm sure, you know, like Gaia's daughters, or Scavino's daughters, Jacosa's daughters, Odero, all these women that have taken over, geez, we're looked at like, so I have empathy for all these women. Tutte.
It is pretty incredible how in your generation, all of the famous wineries, they all had daughters and they're now all being run by women. And I think it's a huge change, particularly in Italy.
It is crazy. Yeah. I think we had women before that were just not, I'm going to say, allowed or supposed to be working here. I mean, there were always girls. The first women in wine in the region, among the first, was Chiara Boschi's. That's why she's my hero. She was the one taking down the barriers of the woman thing back, you know, in the 70s, in the 80s. So that's why she's cool. Before that, you women stay in the house and make babies. That's it. Or some parents are still is that way, but.
Well, it's certainly been a big change, particularly in Piedmont, and the stories that you all tell are so iconic and exciting as we see your wines. And I'll ask kind of a different question of, is there anything that your father maybe expects from you, or the changes that you've made in the winery that surprised him, that you were kind of scared to make?
Well, he expects me not to disappoint his customers. And I always tease him that now, oh my God, this is bad. His customers are dead. I always tell him, your customers are dead. You're all daddy. So now it's my customers, which are younger. Maybe you have different, you know, things change. Your palate changes. So the sense of, you say adaptation, it's very important. And I've been doing some experiments. I can give you one example that just last week I admitted I made a mistake. My dad for many, many years was focusing on one barrel supplier. And through my tasting group, traveling to France, whatever, I decided that there was one specific barrel. I don't know if I can make names, but one specific tonnellerie that I thought, I want to try this, guys. And, you know, I'm going to make good wines because I've tasted that wine. It was made there. It was good. Now I tried it for 5 years. Didn't turn out good. So not as I expected. So I guess maybe I didn't use it properly. I used the wrong wine with it, but I had to tell my dad, and it hurt me badly. But like, you were right. I should have stick to that barrel supplier. But you know, these are little minor tweaks that you can. I always say that what we have, it's a car, it's an engine that runs well. You just have to. You don't have to fix anything. You just have it, keep it going, you say? Yeah. And as my dad has been labeled as the symbol of the revolution within, you know, Karaboskis and all those guys, my generation represent it's a play on words a little bit, but the evolution over the revolution. There's no need to buy a chainsaw and go downstairs in the cellar and chop the barrels. I don't need to do that, but you can always adjust and do some little changes here and there.
That's perfect. And I didn't want to paint your parents as criminals, as you had earlier done in the interview. So I wanted to give something positive about particularly your dad, who's a very lovely person. And I know working in the cellar when you're very young may feel like hard labor, but it can be fun too, right?
It's fun. But what we were doing as kids, I think today kids don't want to do anymore. Yeah. You know what's sad? I've been one of my workers, whatever, is sick, so he's going on a sick leave, so I'm gonna have to hire someone else. But when I hire someone, I don't need to hire a winemaker or a manager. I need someone that can work in the vineyards, drive the tractor, rack, label, and do deliveries. And I need a very 360 degrees person. I've been looking for a month. I've done about 10 interviews. Everyone just wants to be my manager or work in my lab. I don't have a lab. I need someone that works. So you just have to get your hands dirty. That's my advice. If you want to learn something, get your hands dirty. I'm sorry, you gotta work.
I think that's perfect. So as we look past the jumble that is 2020 and 2021 and whatever day, year today is, do you have a vision of what might be in store for the future of the wine world?
I think we're all gonna make better and better wines because there's so much technology helping us. it's going to be hard to find bad wine, which is the case already for Piedmont. You really have to look carefully to find a bad bottle of wine. So the quality is going to increase and increase. Hopefully nobody's going to make Nebbiolo better than we do in Piemonte. So you can grow it in California, you can grow it in Australia, but I hope nobody does it better than us. That's what I hope. But I'm sure technology is on our side. But again, technology, yes, but don't miss the feelings. I mean, it's still something that comes from nature that we have to make with our hands. Yeah.
Of course. So what are your plans for the year to come as we get past COVID?
I wouldn't mind maybe going on holiday away from my commune, from La Morra, since when we're in lockdown in Italy, you can't leave your commune. And if you live in Los Angeles, in New York is one thing, but if you live in La Morra, the only people I can meet is the butcher and the baker. So I wouldn't mind traveling a little bit. And I can't wait to go out for dinners with my friends again. I can't wait to go back to Ojai, little things like that. Yeah. But I've had a daughter in 2020, so maybe explore the world with her, stuff like that. Boring stuff.
That's not boring by any stretch of the imagination. And I think we're all looking forward to leaving, whether it's our apartments or our communes or wherever we're kind of stuck soon. But as we I know you've been working with your family your entire life. Is there a dream project that you'd like to pursue in the future?
Well, what I'm trying to do, and I'm working on this, I've been putting money on the side, and slowly I've been buying the vineyards that my dad had been renting for the last 20, 30 years. And I mean, I can't blame my parents, but 30 years ago, they didn't know the future. They didn't know if I was going to work, if my sister was going to work. My sister left. So, and in the last 10 years, I've been slowly, it's very expensive, buying the vineyards that my dad had been worked and rented for 20 years. So my challenge is to buy those vineyards. So win the lottery could be an option, or just save money and spend millions to buy a little piece of land at a time. I'm not planning on expanding. It's just to have, stable quality and production, because we're still tiny. We have 10 hectares. 9 acres, I don't know, but 10 hectares is a family run size. Perfect. Yeah.
Well, that's certainly exciting news for the horizon of your estate for Altare. And Silvia, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you today and hear a little bit about your history and kind of your legacy that you're building, I would say, in Piemonte. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your time with us. And thank you for celebrating Women's History Month and International Women's Day with Acker. So thank you.
Grazie a voi. Thank you for the social moment, the great social moment. Yes. Grazie. And we all can't wait to have you guys back to Piemonte. It's so sad, not one single person visiting since a year. And Piemonte has so much to offer. It's a beautiful region. You've been here. So food, wine, art, hospitality. It's beautiful. It's sad to see it so empty.
The best place to visit. And Silvia, I hope to come see you very soon.
Grazie mille.